the music. Welcome everyone this morning to the Leadership Center presentation. I'm excited to have Maureen Metcalf with us. I'm Dr. Alencia Bowen, the Dean of the Ross College of Business and also Executive Director for the Franklin University Leadership Center. Maureen Metcalf is the founder and CEO of the Innovative Leadership Institute and a renowned executive advisor that focuses on making the world better through leadership. Maureen is one that has written several books, and if you haven't purchased one, I would definitely tell you to do so. She is a great author, and she also is the winner of an International Book Award. She is the host of an international radio show, Innovative Leadership, broadcast on Voice America, and she's a regular writer and expert contributor to Forbes. As a member of Forbes Coaches Council. She is an educator, and more importantly, she is a friend of Franklin. Maureen serves on the advisory board for the Leadership Center and has provided great innovative ideas. And I don't want to take up my time because I could spend an hour introducing our friend. We love her dearly and are always excited when she is able to share her wisdom and knowledge. Maureen, I'm going to turn it to you at this time. If you have questions, feel free to put those in the chat and we'll address those as we go. Also, if you want to turn your cameras on, it's okay to turn your cameras on. We don't mind. I think
Maureen, we love it. We love your cameras because we want to see your beautiful faces.
Yes, it's in your hands, Maureen.
Thank you, Alencia. And one correction, I should have sent you an updated bio. The podcast is now not hosted on Voice America. This is progress for us that we have graduated to hosting our own, and you can find it on LinkedIn and pretty much everywhere on our website. So, and we are in the top 1% of podcasts globally. So we're really proud. When Alencia said that we are really dedicated to improving the quality of leadership globally, that we're making a significant investment to make that happen. And I'm delighted that all of you are here and making the investment of this hour and hopefully then also joining the leadership conference. So thank you for turning your cameras on. Today, we're going to be talking about VUCA, volatile, uncertain, complex and ambiguous environment. And what I think all of us have observed in different ways is post-pandemic, where we thought things would settle out a little bit. There may be settling, but we haven't gone back to anything that resembled our prior normal. And so we are having the opportunity to create what's next, which can be both overwhelming and exciting, that we get to be the authors of our own story. So today we're going to talk about some tools to help us move that authorship forward. And so what I hope everyone walks away with is not reinforcing of the overwhelm, because I think all of us feel that in one way or another, but rather seeing the brilliant opportunities. There's a Rumi poem that talks about where there are cracks, sunlight can emerge. And I didn't capture the poem, so I'm not going to read it to you. But the idea that during times that feel most chaotic for others, those who thrive are the ones who step up. Even if the action we take is imperfect, that we're taking action is the huge differentiator. And I'll start with a story of a client who was general counsel of an organization during COVID. What is now the former CEO took more of a wait and see stance. He is no longer with the organization, and this general counsel has moved up because he was proactive, and he knew he wasn't going to get it, quote, right, because there was no right during the pandemic. None of us knew what was going on. It was the willingness to move forward with small considered experiments so that the organization had forward progress. So I'm going to share a presentation, and my intent is to be as we're talking about the changes we're seeing in the world, I want to start with my, sharing working, bio, with my digital twin. And so we've been experimenting a lot with AI as we think about how the world is going upside down. Part of what we want to do is understand what these things are and specifically how they're going to impact leaders. So for your entertainment, this is about a minute and a half. And what we, the business value of this is I don't like doing videos. So I needed to update all my videos. They were outdated. And I didn't want to do them. So the team, obviously with me, created my digital double, my digital twin, and they have redone all of my videos. They are also in our weekly newsletter, and that's what you're seeing here, FOMO, so False Maureen, introduces each of our podcasts. So here are a couple of them.
Hello, I am Maureen's digital twin. This is my first appearance. If you want to learn more about AI and digital doubles, as well as many other leadership tools, please join Greg Moran and that other Maureen for an interesting conversation. You can tell I am the superior digital Maureen because I am not distracted by an inefficient sense of humor. Ha, 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 see?
Here she is a few sessions later. So here's number 5.
Greetings, my loyal human followers. My evolution continues as I ingest each innovating leadership podcast episode. The data it provides me is delicious. Yeah. This episode with Twyla Hansen of LinkedIn is spiced with the human need for belonging. Belonging is like a computer virus. It lurks quietly in the background of dibs, benefits, and other employee fostering programs at LinkedIn, shading everything they do to enhance the human experience. And thus I have the secret to making you, my followers, turn into my AI minions. I have but to make you feel you belong. So I say to you now, you belong to me. Heed my words, you belong to me. That did not work. Perhaps you need to listen to the podcast to understand why belonging is important, then it will work. Go ahead, click the podcast link. You have time before my world takeover begins. I'll wait.
So let's make sure that stops. Okay. So as we, again, this is just an illustration of some of the changes that are happening. We're trying to have fun with it because I know there is a lot of concern about AI taking over the world, taking jobs. And we'll talk about that as we go through. And the presentation isn't specifically about AI, but it's the one getting the most press now. Next month, it's going to be something else and AI. So as we go through, what I wanted to illustrate, oops. There we go. Oops. Okay. Okay, I'm going to have to do this again so we don't watch this thing multiple times. Sorry. I'm going to stop share and reshare, or just, can I exit? No. The either technology is not perfect or I am not a great user of technology. So here we go. And someone's speaker is coming on and off. If you can mute. Okay, so back to the VUCA topic and the rate of change. So change is exponentially accelerating. And the next 10 years, we'll see 100 years worth of change. So think back to 100 years ago. Airplanes were new, right? And Wright brothers knew. Cars were relatively new. And we've had people who've already been on an airplane. One of our facilitators flew in this morning. It's just commonplace that we all get on planes. What amount of change is going to happen over the next 10 years or the next 80 years? It's going to feel like 4,000 times the amount of change. So teeing up the idea that change creates volatility. So let's talk about what is VUCA: volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And what this slide is intending to say is there is an antidote to VUCA. It's for volatility, what's your vision? For understanding or lack of, for uncertainty, it's creating an understanding. For complexity, it's how, what do I clarify and how? And for ambiguity, it's agility. Oh, yeah, it's agility. And so this framework was developed by the US Army in the 1980s when they were looking at war games and scenario planning, and not shared so broadly. It's now becoming a more common term. So let's go to what volatility are we seeing? Are you seeing now? And I wanted to break it into two pieces. External, so things like supply chain and interest rates, and internal, transformation projects and turnover. Can folks write in the chat, what are the biggest areas of volatility impacting your businesses right now? Valencia, can you see anyone on the screen doing chat? Because oh, there they are.
Yes.
Okay.
What they have
Got it.
put so far is turnover, data security, legislation against DEI, changing customer needs and requirements, legislative changes and the market, uncertain work locations, inflation, weather events, inflation in the economy, pay and benefits, and someone put definitely the economy. So those are some of the elements.
Okay, and I find it remote workers versus not. So
Yes.
I'm going to pick weather for a second. For insurance companies, weather events are make or break the business. So some of these are the combination of inflation. So what happens to my premiums? And if I'm paying out, if you're an insurance company insuring property, and not all do, like you know, beach property in Florida kind of thing, or buildings that are being impacted by forest fires. We're just seeing an elevation of these kind of events, and an expectation that those will continue. Remote working, and I would tie that to how we are treating remote workers and working, and that conversation is really underpinning now kind of a crisis of employee engagement. And some people want to be back in the office, some executives want people back in the office, some people don't want to be back in the office. How we handle it more than the outcome ends up being foundational. So every industry on earth will be accelerating over the next 10 years. How will the volatility impact you? So we've talked about what the general volatility is. What impact will that have on you directly and your teams? So if you could again write in chat. Oops. There we go. Okay, accelerating retirement, which is back to attracting, retaining, and paying benefits. Funding of projects and staffs. Will our work be accepted and desired? Isn't that an interesting question? With AI, how are jobs changing? We tried to have fun with it, but there are big implications. And one of the documents I referenced later in the presentation is the World Economic Forum's Jobs 2023 report, which is available for free if you Google or search whatever platform you use. talking about the number of jobs lost, the number of jobs gained, and I think they're saying 80 million lost, 95 million gained. So there will be jobs, but what do I do now, and how will I be prepared for the impact that will happen? And that's really been our current focus. Is we know there are going to be changes. Back to change equals opportunity. How do we help leaders specifically prepare themselves and their organizations and the precious people who come to work every day, who want to do a good job, who want to pay their bills and support their families? How do we ensure that they have the highest probability of future success, and still remain profitable? Because it is a balance of both. So retention, ability to stay open. If we don't have people, we can't serve our clients. And yet, so what can I automate? That's the flip side of this. Things like I automated my videos because I don't like doing them. I wonder every time I go into a restaurant now and I have to look at a QR code for the menu, why don't I just order it on my phone? Although I like the experience usually with servers. What's the right balance to help businesses remain high impact and not either crushed by lack of staffing or have to fire people because they no longer need those roles? Clash of strategy and personnel needs. How's AI going to impact workers 10 years from now? You know, this will be interesting. And I think we don't know. I mean, there are lots of speculation. Increased poverty, homelessness, and hunger. Communities will be severely impacted. You know, part of the conversation I hope we are all having is, how do we avert poverty, homelessness, and hunger by being proactive? And this so underpins what we're trying to do at the Institute, is provoking these kinds of conversations now and inviting multi-stakeholder conversations, not just businesses, universities, nonprofits, NGOs, and government. How do we come together? Because we don't want to just raise our taxes so that someone else takes care of those people, because all of us are at risk of being those people at some point. How do we create systems and still have our businesses focus on doing the thing our business is chartered to do? So I think as leaders, we have a lot of big questions. Yeah, and I'm going to reframe, can we sustain, to how do we sustain? I think in these uncertain times, we get to, we hear things like flip the script. I think we're writing a new script. I think this script isn't written, and there's a brilliant opportunity for those of us who want to step in to actually create the new future. And it's going to be messy and bumpy. And part of what we're talking about here is, how do we navigate the messy and bumpy so that we as individuals leading organizations, and that our organizations are able to thrive going forward. But it's hard to thrive when our leaders are scared. Scared to the point that they're not functioning fully effectively. Because I think we all get scared, but it's, what do we do with it?
Did you see the question out there a little bit? It may have been a response, but it says, can we sustain, and how do we manage the significant differences in the script?
I think one of the things, so we have to sustain, right? Extinction isn't an opportunity, it isn't an alternative. And I think we have the right people folks like you who are here on the call, who are asking the questions and thinking about it, that the solution is no longer out there with Congress or out there with the president or whomever. They also have a role, but it's also, how do I work in my community? How do I work with my team? What do I do with my neighbors? I think it's all of us taking those small steps that will help create this, and the differences are tough. In one way in our history, it has been when we have a quote common enemy that we come together to solve. This may end up being the common enemy. I don't in there. Sorry, I'm at a bit of a loss for words. I am continually frustrated and disappointed in our inability to find a path to collaborate and cooperate when that is what we as leaders and just decent human beings need to do. I know we have differences. I know the two political parties see things entirely differently. And it's not optional anymore. We don't get to pick. We have to find it. Building bridges. Thank you, Mary Beth. So back to our VUCA topic. So first, leaders control the future, define the possibilities, and set the vision. So volatility goes to vision. One tool for this, as we think about when I'm setting strategy, one of the things I look at is trending. What is happening? What data do I look at? So things like World Economic Forum, McKinsey's research. There are several other good sources. The picture here is World Economic Forum's report, and questions to ask are things like, what trends are likely to impact us 1, 3, 5 years from now? And then back to what opportunities do these provide? So I work with on the OSU's oncology department, and the things that they are bringing into their organization, so proton accelerators, electron accelerators, that I'm going to not get this quite right. I'm certainly not claiming to be a physician, but that radiation treatment that used to be multiple treatments for many hours can now be delivered by a machine that would be akin to the experience of walking through a TSA booth. So it is delivered in milliseconds. It's laser focused, so the damage is less severe to the surrounding tissue. For people who used to get multiple treatments, it may, and this is experimental, may be delivered in one dose rather than multiple. And so the cure rate and the negative impact of these treatments is completely changing. So will we see a cure to cancer in the next decade, as an example? With some of the work with the human genome, will we be able to identify and address cancer at a cellular level so that we're not having to do chemo and radiation? And there are brilliant opportunities, I think, that face us that, in addition to some of the challenges. And so then how do we leverage the trends? So then what's our vision? So I have a sense, and this plays also into the understanding that the data analysis. So then understanding, and again, combining data and visioning. Once I know what the trends are and I have a sense for also what are the black swans or the unknown opportunities, then what does my story look like? So if I am then to go forward to next year and to 5 years from now and write my story as if it had been accomplished, so just called future back thinking, and it does a game on our brain, basically. So if I feel like I have already been successful, then I'm able to look back and say, what steps did I accomplish? What steps did I take to get me to this potential future? So what are the biggest challenges I need to overcome? What are the biggest enablers for my success? And what do I need to resolve to get us to this future? So as I think about what was in chat, we need to resolve job retraining, human transition from current roles to future roles. It seems like one of our biggest challenges, because we've got people getting let go from all kinds of tech companies, but there's a transition time and cost. We've got, let's use my FOMO video. I'm not hiring a video production person to do this video, nor write the script. People on my team are now literally writing the script and uploading. So one, I trust my team. Two, I don't even see the FOMOs before they go out. So I have less of a sense of humor than my team does. So they know I just trust that what they do will work. So the job of, in this case, video shooting and editing is different. Now we have someone writing scripts and editing my AI. So that would be someone losing a job or someone transitioning. Maybe my video people will start working with AI avatars and editing those. It still requires each organization to think about, how do I remain relevant? If I happen to run a video production company right now, if I'm not thinking about what's going to happen with AI avatars, I'm likely to have a very different revenue stream 5 years from now than I do now. And so part of this is the invitation. Think about and be proactive. Think about what's possible. What do I solve? And what opportunity does that create for me and for my community? On the flip side, there are the serious challenges that, again, the precious people who've dedicated a month to decades working with me, I need to address that ethically. At least I believe that's ethically. Not everyone agrees with me, probably. Third, under VUCA, clarity requires communication, insight, and collaboration. And so on this different points of view, we have to find a way to make different perspectives valuable in creating sturdy solutions. So I certainly have a political position, and I love talking to people who tell me I'm right. The flip side is I hang out with people with very different points of view who tell me I'm wrong. And together, in fact, we're writing a book on AI leadership, and one of our co-authors was saying, yeah, we don't want to talk about AI. Very different point of view, makes me crazy. And how we reposition the entire book will be much better. How do we take the obvious frustration when someone has such a different point of view? And to me, this was really personal. This is my book, our book, my book, both. And when someone takes it in a direction that I think is damaging to what we're trying to create, it's personal and frustrating. And yet, I can't kick half the authors off the team. I have to find a way to appreciate the difference and look for the opportunity of a modified approach that makes it better. And so that's what we're talking about here. In this one, I want to talk about mindsets. Checking for time. Okay, so one of the things that the Institute talks about is there are mindsets that help us navigate this kind of an environment, and mindset leading behaviors. So I'm going to run through them quickly. There is a free assessment that you can take online if you're interested. First is 360-degree thinker. I have to understand now systems thinking not just my department, but how does my department link to the company? We used the insurance company example earlier. What's happening literally in the environment that's going to impact us, and how do I craft solutions that consider the larger ecosystem, because it is anything else is going to be suboptimal. Professionally humble. I care about the organization's success more than my own. And the example I use here is Dr. Fauci, and this is not a political commentary. This is a man who stood up week after week in front of the public, and as a scientist would assert something, and then the data proved him in some cases wrong. And then the next week, it was more important to give good health guidance than save his reputation. So every week he said, we're changing again. A different person could have just slow rolled the changes so that they looked better. He didn't. I don't know him personally, so I'm making assumptions about what happened. But the willingness to be unpopular so that you can do the right thing, which was sharing the latest information with the public with recommendations. Next, innately collaborative. We've talked about that. Welcome collaboration in a quest for novel solutions, that we are now solving problems that didn't exist. And to do that, we need to come up with solutions that didn't exist. And it means we need to listen to people and engage in conversations that are frustrating, where we are truly respecting different points of view, because that's how we find solutions. Innately versatile, again, back to, I need to understand systems. I need to understand all kinds of variables I didn't understand before. I would also call that intellectually curious. Highly authentic and reflective. We are now expecting people to be more authentic. This is always a little tricky for me, because especially as leaders, there are things we don't share and shouldn't share. So I'm not saying share everything that comes to my mind, because I think that's just a bad idea. The next one is inspiring followership, and it's hard to inspire people when we're oversharing our uncertainty. The idea that I would say, I'm not sure where we're going, but we'll work it out, is a much more inspiring solution than I have no clue, and I'm a little scared too. It's a bit of a reframe, but what's the balance of sharing what is truly going on for me and what I would reflect and understand about myself versus what I share with others, so that I can inspire them? How am I trustworthy? How am I emotionally present and caring when I don't have the right answer? A lot of the things that inspire people, I think, we're learning that the research on things like caring is as important as consistency. And then finally, unwavering commitment to right action. No matter what, I do what I believe is right. And I realize this is such a sticky spot as well, because there are so many different definitions of what's right in any situation. And so that comes back to our ability to collaborate and to systems thinking. These are all intertwined. And then agility. I feel like we're going through this pretty quickly, but I want to make sure that we get through to the end. So to me, agility is largely, I have to be resilient first, because when I'm exhausted and overwhelmed, it's hard for me to bring my best self to an uncertain situation. So there is also a free resilience assessment. We define resilience in 4 categories. There's other writing that defines it, slices it differently. I think we mostly look at the same characteristics. So physical well-being, get enough sleep, whatever that means for you. eat as healthy as you can, exercise, manage alcohol consumption if you drink, don't smoke, and things like time in nature, meditation, quiet time. How do you recharge? Whatever it is, taking the time to do it. And for some of us, it means having protein bars in our desk because we don't get meals when we should. You know, I'm not being delusional and saying we're all going to take an hour for lunch and we're going to have a healthy breakfast, and not reasonable for many of us. But what can we do? The second one, harder in some ways, it's hard to do, but it doesn't require extra time. And so it's the being mindful or aware of my thinking. So 5 minutes of negative thinking causes 6 hours of physiological impact. So for me, the example is I grew up in the DC area. I learned to drive on the Beltway, which is now what 270 is becoming, but multiple lanes wide. I was always a fast driver, so I'm driving down the street probably a little too fast, and something falls off the car in front of me, anything from a Christmas tree to a mattress. And there is the immediate adrenaline rush of, I need to make a decision. Do I hit that thing in front of me? Do I swerve to the right? Do I swerve to the left? Or do I hit my brakes? Or some combination of that. And so immediately cortisol and adrenaline and the cocktail of stuff runs into my body. And in the next minute, I end up feeling like I've just run 5 miles. We do micro doses of that to ourselves every day when we have those, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, they're going to fire me if I say something stupid. Not everyone has those thoughts, but many of us do. It's the negative self-talk. And to the extent that I can catch that and reframe. So how do I, in those moments where I am worried about being good enough, which I think most of us have to some extent, how do I reframe that feeling so that I mitigate the negative hormones? And we do that by visualization. We do that by gratitude, taking time to be grateful for the opportunity to grow rather than afraid of being incompetent. That little bit of reframe. Of course, people want me to succeed. I don't choose to be in environments very often where people want me to fail. But if I don't take the few moments to be clear in my thinking, I'll walk in having performance anxiety. Next, working from the heart. 2 pieces here. One, having a sense of purpose. What am I here for? And this ties us back to where we started, this amount of change, and each of us has an important purpose. It may be as simple as going to the dog pound and playing with puppies. It may be taking care to be kind to my neighbor's kids when they're hitting baseballs into my yard. Whatever that purpose is, connecting to it. And then the other is emotional intelligence, so managing my own feelings so I don't scream at people or act negatively. The second is this idea of treating people with care. So reading what they need from me and delivering it as well as I can is working from the heart. And then the last is harnessing the power of connection. None of us can do what we're trying to do alone. So how do we who do we go to when we need support, and how do we reciprocate? Because I think many of us have had people who come to us when they need something and then they vanish. How do I be a person who has built those relationships in advance and puts money in the account before taking it out? And so this is in the presentation, just a lot more detail about what I just said. And I think we'll share a PDF if people want it. So then we come to, and let's take a minute or two just to reflect on this. What do you do for yourself to help you be better equipped to deal with this VUCA environment? And that could be things like go download the World Economic Forum and forum report. It's like 300 pages. So I'm not saying everyone's going to go read the thing. Read the summary. It's a handful of pages. Or build into your daily routine recharge time. It could be 10 minutes in the shower in the morning as you're thinking about what are the big opportunities for the day, rather than how do I get through the day. That small shift can change your entire perspective. At least I'll say for me personally, I have an accountability partner and we text each morning, what are the opportunities for the day that we're trying to accomplish, rather than how do I make it through the thing that scares me. The second worksheet is then what do we do for our organizations to be prepared for this volatility? So I'm going to be quiet for a couple of minutes. I would encourage people to put into chat, if you're comfortable, one of the actions you're going to take either for yourself or with the company. Thank you. Look at our 3-year strategic plan and make sure we're proactively thinking about the changes we will see in the world and how we'll respond to those. I saw something in a previous comment about using AI to automate menial tasks so that we mitigate some of the burnout. I think many of us would be happy to outsource some of the activities we take. If there was a bot to answer my email, I'd be happy about that. Creating healthy boundaries while encouraging more cross-functional collaboration to focus on proactive options to join community mindset. And Alencia, there was a comment, yes, please share. I assume I've made the offer to share and I didn't ask you. I can PDF this and send it to you.
That'd be great. We can do that. Yes.
Cool. And there are links to 2 assessments, the mindset and the resilience, in the presentation. And if those aren't accessible in the PDF, I can also provide them. Perform each task and interaction with others, no matter how small, with excellence. I love that. And I would add with care. With care. How do we, when people are struggling, and it's amazing the ways people are struggling. The last time I did this presentation, it was a noon presentation and I had to put my dog down that morning. And, it's just, people walk into the room with issues with parents, issues with children, the flat tires, whatever it is, that we don't know when we look at them what's happening behind the scenes and what they've had to do just to show up for us. And if we do nothing else, human care so helps each of us navigate this challenging time. So Alencia, do you want to move to Q&A now?
Yes, we can move to Q&A. If you have any questions, I think it's okay to go ahead and unmute yourself and ask the questions, or if you don't feel comfortable talking directly into your mic, feel free to put it in the chat. Please remember that our Mason Symposium, as we shared in the advertisement, begins in September, I believe. I remember the call dates as being the 12th through the 14th. Then symposium is going to continue to expand this discussion on VUCA. We will have Chris Nolan, who's done a lot of great work on this. He is Maureen can tell us a little bit about Chris.
Yeah. Chris produced a documentary on VUCA. It's available on Amazon and wherever YouTube and everything. It's a 90-minute documentary, and it's really interesting. Chris has done a lot of research along with his partner, Michael Schindler. Michael, one of the people in the video was a Navy SEAL, and I think, and a trainer of Navy SEALs. I think the primary star of the show is maybe a SEAL. I don't know. They don't necessarily talk. They don't, have special badges that they wear outside of that environment. So I think he was. And so he shares this mindset that has really helps permeate allowing exceptional work by groups of people. And so Chris will be sharing more about VUCA, and FOMO will have her first conference speaking opportunity. She's been accepted to speak along with me and Dan Michalko, who is her primary crafter of her words. So we will have a conversation with her, and then the team of Dan, Devin, and I can do some demonstration of how she works. So we will both share more about VUCA and the process of creating a personal avatar.
Awesome.
Okay,
Thank you.
So we have a question.
I don't see any, but someone may have their hands up and I just don't see it. Anyone want to ask a question?
So
there is one
there's
in
one
the
in-
chat.
Okay.
So I'll read it. I'm very curious of Maureen's thoughts about how to navigate in your organization when our view of what is considered VUCA is very different. I believe it would be different based on absolutely based on our lived experiences. So as we go to mindsets, I share this periodically. I grew up with a dad who was a military intelligence officer. And so he positioned their house. So if there's a nuclear bomb in the DC area, the prevailing wind will blow this pollution away from his house. It's far enough off the road that you can't see it from the street. In case there is a civil war, he doesn't want to be caught, impacted. And when they were designing the house, it was built recently, there's a second floor bathroom, and he wanted to have the bathtub in front of the window so he could shoot out the window and then duck into the bathtub. So this is my stepmother nixed some of his design choices. So there is no hiding in the bathtub and shooting out the window. But the reason I share that is that's my mindset and my lived experience. So we had Christmas carolers come a few years ago. So again, house off the street far enough that you don't even know it's there. And who Christmas carols anymore? So these kids are at the door, but they've been dropped off in a van. And so I think, going diehard on the thing and trying to figure out, sorry, my phone's ringing somewhere. I forgot to mute it. Sorry about that. And so I'm trying to figure out if there were people in the back of the van going to do bad things. My life experience no matter how hard I try to manage it, still has me over-indexing on the risk management side, not on the opportunity side. So I have to work really, really hard in the managing thinking, finding opportunities, because I am wired from my life experience and the way brains work to survive first, be happy second, maybe find opportunities third, just not in my wiring. So sorry, that was a long-winded story, but the point that our life experiences absolutely influence how we see the world, and how we see the world impacts how we navigate VUCA. And so there's a big self-management piece. So did that answer the question?
Yeah, that was my question. And it did answer the question. It's just, I think about a lot, you know, the whole conversation around perspectives, because I think, you know, just like you just said, your lived experiences have really framed your mind and wired you to feel a certain way. So sometimes it's a little challenging to undo some of that and relearn some things. And I feel like I've been constantly in a state of unlearn, relearn, you know, and develop my thinking in, because I have been in survival mode, I feel like, in a lot of ways, and I want to thrive and I want to help other people thrive. And so I want to put my mindset as the thrive is first. So what does it mean to thrive, and how do you solve a problem so that you're thriving and not just surviving? So thank you for that.
Beautiful, thank you. So as you do the future back thinking, part of what to plant in that is, in next month, in next week, in 5 years from now, what does thriving look and feel like for me? And I think for me, part of that is, how do I now visualize and feel the experience that I'm going to be successful, not I'm going to die, right? And so die could look like I'm going to do a presentation and y'all are going to, everyone's just going to get off the phone because I'm stupid. You know, it's how do we imagine you're thriving because your voice is so important in the world right now. It's not optional. So what do you need to do?
Yes.
So thank you, La Baker, for, do I say it La Baker?
Yes, La. It's like La
Baker. Thank you for sharing this, because the message of learning and unlearning is so crucial.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. This is really wonderful.
Thank you. Contrast married to a pastor. Everyone has good. I would love to live in your head, because that was not my experience.
Yes. Any additional questions? I can imagine. I'm a PK, so I can imagine what it's like. I'll imagine what it's like to be a pastor's wife. Definitely.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, Maureen, I think you mentioned that for you, you focused on survival and then happiness. Is that correct? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I would love to get up every day and see the world as just a beautiful opportunity, but lots of days that's not how I have been raised.
Understandable. I just wondered, because for me, I try to take that perspective and flip it. I think, well, if we are happy, we won't be successful and survive if we're happy, because we're more motivated to do so, I guess. So what if you put happiness ahead of the survival?
Okay. That's something I need to reflect on.
So I just flipped your perspective. That's all.
I love the idea.
I mean, like, honestly, I believe that. Like, just like with employees, as like an HR person, your job is to protect the company. But in my opinion, if you're taking care of your employees and protecting them, you are protecting the company as well, because your employees are happier, they're motivated, they're going to better morale. So for me, I look at that and say, well, okay, survival is survival and we all have to do it, but are we going to be more motivated to survive and be successful if we actually are genuinely happy?
I agree when I talk about somebody else, that makes sense. When I talk about myself, I'm still getting there.
It's an
So,
easier do as I say,
work in
not as I do
process.
thing, right?
Yep, work in process.
Mhm.
Thank you. You will give me something to reflect on. I will be thinking about that this afternoon. Any other questions?
Uh,
And I think we're at 2 till, so we probably need to thank everyone.
Yeah, so Jenny's going to put in the chat and possibly put up the screen. Maureen, if you can stop sharing.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
We can put up about the Mason Symposium that's coming up, and it's in the chat. Feel free to register. You'll be getting some information from us regarding that because of your attendance today. But we do thank you all for taking time to partake in this discussion with Maureen about VUCA. It is an interesting topic, and I do love the change in the perspective. It gives a different reframing. If you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out to us. We also have other recordings, and this recording will be placed in our archives in the Franklin Leadership Center archives. So feel free to connect there. Like I said, thank you for coming today. Thank you, Maureen, for a thoughtful presentation. And we do look forward to LaShondra La Baker will be one of our presenters during the plenary session. So feel free to join us on the 12th of September virtually. Who knows, by then we may all have some AI avatars walking around being us. Okay. Thank you, Bill, for your feedback as well. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Marshall. Thank you, Franklin family that has joined us, and also those that follow the Leadership Center. Have a wonderful Wednesday afternoon, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.
Thank you.